Okay, we're ready to finally mount the engine. And first off, I have the piece that I showed you before, but now it is, 20 some inches long and goes all the way back to the former behind the servo tray. And I want to make sure we're going to do one final test. Watch this. Okay, so 2 screws in this side, and you just put them on. That way you don't scratch up the muffler where it goes. 2 screws on this side, and remember, this is still a test because the mount is not all the way installed yet, so we're just doing a test here. So you got the 4 screws in the white blocks. You take and put your Z-bend into the bottom hole of the carburetor push rod, and then you put that bottom hole of the carburetor arm, and you put that push rod all the way back, and then you make sure all 4 screws go in their holes, and then you squeeze down nice and tight so that all 4 bolts are coming out the bottom. And then you test the arm, make sure nothing's going to hit. It looks fine, and it's below the muffler. I'm going to grab the muffler just to make sure. Stick the muffler up there, and I won't put the screws in, but it's got about 3/16 clearance below the muffler. Okay, that'll be fine. And so everything's working. All right, be back in a second, and I'll show you what I'm going to do to finally mount the motor mount. Okay, we're ready to finally mount the engine mount onto the firewall. Got to make sure the engine mount is right side up. Got some blue Loctite. I'm going to just dab a little in each of the 4 holes. Get a little in there. Oop, oop. 2, 4. You always have some paper towels ready because that stuff oozes easily. I've got a little too much in there, but that's all right. Better than not enough. Okay. So now I'm going to take my big screwdriver and just start all 4. Get the fuel tubing through the hole. And it might be easier if I stand up for this one. Okay, 1 started. Two started. Three started. Four started, and time to tighten. Okay, 1 tight, finger tight, 2 finger tight, 3 finger tight, and 4 finger tight. Remember, these have lock washers and regular washers on them. And then you get them good and tight. Okay, and you inspect and make sure nothing's hitting the tank. all look good. Okay, I'll be right back and show you how to do put the engine on. Okay, got the engine ready, got the white mounts with their 4 screws on them. Going to put the push rod into the bottom hole of the arm on the carburetor. Okay, and get that where it's supposed to be. Put it in the tube for the push rod, and then just go ahead and make sure all 4 screws go in their holes. And that's easier said than done. There we go. Alright, I'm going to do the 2 screws first where the needle valve is. Okay, those 2 are in, because these are going to be a little easier to play with. That one's in, and that one's in. Okay, so all 4 screws are in, and we get them all the way down, down, and down. Okay, then squeeze this down. Okay, so the engine squeezed down so that it bottoms out, and I'll get the 4 screws ready and some more Loctite. Be right back. Okay, the engine keeps bringing up a little bit. I'm not too worried about that because I know it'll sit down, so I'm going to go ahead and start the 4 screws. And I'm going to use a pair of bent needle nose pliers, and I'm going to start on this side where the push rod is, just to get 2 going. Okay, that one started. And this one's going to be a little tougher. Okay, that one started. And for the one by the needle valve, I'm going to take my tiniest screwdriver, drop it between the needle valve and the nipple, and get that one started. Well, okay, not as easy as you might think. Here we go. Three down, 1 to go. Use a bigger screwdriver on this one because I can reach it easier. Okay, gonna do this one with my finger. And that's 4. Okay, so now you're going to have to just tighten this up. I'm going to turn it upside down and to make sure that the nuts go into the recesses, and so I can see it. I'll be right back. Okay, I've got the engine upside down. You can use these bent pliers to hold the nut in position while you screw the screw from the bottom, and that way you make sure that the nut goes into its recess. Okay, so all 4 nuts are in their recess. They're not tight yet, but all 4 nuts are in the recess. And although that one's in the recess, this one's not tight at all. I'm going to hold that one with my finger and tighten this one down. Okay, and I can see the one here by the needle valve is not even close to being tight, so I'm going to tighten him down. Alright. Okay, so as you tighten these down, you slide along here and make sure that the plastic pieces are seating onto the engine mount, and they're nice and even when you're done. Be back in a minute. Okay, I'm going to start at the needle valve and try to get it as tight as I can, because that's going to be the hardest one to tighten because you're using the tiniest screwdriver. Okay, I'm going to do the one here by the push rod. Use a medium-sized screwdriver because I don't want to scratch up where the muffler goes. And make sure it goes down all the way. Good. On the other end of where the muffler goes. And you look at the lock washer, make sure it flattens out. Then the last one down here, he's still loose quite a bit. And get the lock washer all the way down. Now, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make sure these are tight. Then I'm going to turn it over and drop some blue Loctite on the bottom of every nut and let it dry. It won't come off, believe me. Be right back. Okay, I'm satisfied that I've got the 4 bolts as tight as I can make them. I'm looking at the 4 nuts. They're in their recess as well. I'm just going to touch a little of the blue Loctite where the nut meets the bolt. And try not to get too much on there. I did. Let me dab up a little. Okay, that's good, that's good. Alright, all 4 of those are good. Loctite is in place. You want that Loctite to dry nice and dry and not disturb it. And so, engine is now in place. I noticed I did one thing wrong. It's okay, still fixable. These 3 tubes should not be pointing toward the bottom. The green one should be pointing toward the bottom. The other 2 should be pointing to the top. I'll just feed those back through.